Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Hedera and HBAR. But before we fully jump on into this video, I just want to hear from you guys out there that are holding HBAR. What do you think the value of HBAR will be at the top of the next bull run? What price target do you have in mind, and what is your end goal with HBAR? I'd love to hear from you guys, and also hit that like button if you guys haven't already. And for those out there that are not subscribed to the channel, maybe you guys are new, by the end of this video, if you guys do find something interesting, or maybe you learned something new about Hedera in this video, definitely hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on to never miss a future update, as I am constantly doing research and also uploading videos around specific tokens, including HBAR. So with that being said, let's just dive in, and let's start off with this tweet, or this quote here from Kid Cryptic. He left this comment on my last HBAR video, and I thought it was interesting because I don't think that there's enough people out there that realize how HBAR actually gets utilized within the transactions and how HBAR is utilized on the mainnet as well. So let's take a look at this comment real quick, and we do see, are all of these partners with HBAR actually using the HBAR token? Proof. Thanks, brother. Now, very similar to this response here, like the case studies are on the Hedera website. It's very hard to actually understand those case studies. But first, let's take a look at a few things. So a lot of people are kind of confused on why HBAR isn't blowing up in price due to the usage that we are seeing on the network. For an example, in the last month, we've seen about almost 700 million transactions being pushed over Hedera. We also seen the average TPS being around 260 and the max TPS being about 8,061. Now, as we take a look at this, you're probably thinking, well, damn, we should be at, $1 plus on HBAR. But in all actuality, the transactional value for Hedera from all these transactions, it isn't a lot. To be honest with you guys, when we take a look at the amount of transactions that are happening on Hedera in the last 24 hours, for an example, it is about roughly $4,069. This per year is about $1.5 million. Now, overall, this is not that bad, but it's not that great at all. And in fact, it's actually kind of underwhelming for most people out there, because you're thinking, well, we're at about almost 700 million transactions, so we should be at about this amount of dollars in revenue, whatever. But in all actuality, that is not the case. When we take a look at the price per transaction, it's a fraction of a penny. So when we take a look at how many transactions are happening on Hedera, and really kind of look at the cost per transaction, it doesn't equate to a lot of money. Meaning, guess what? We need to have a lot more transactions happening on the network, which is totally fine. But again, is this creating value right now? Technically, you could argue, hey, Hedera started to go a little bit crazy. Is this due to network usage? What's the case here? In my opinion, I don't think that this is because of network usage. I don't think that the network usage has caused us to do a 127% run. I think that this is mainly a lot of people buying into Hedera due to the good news and due to the network usage. I do think that right now, as Hedera looks pretty good over on the price chart, and as we do see the FOMC meeting brewing closer and closer, and we have the monthly candle close coming here soon as well. If all goes well, we could see HBAR at 20 cents here shortly after we clear some resistance areas. But I do have high hopes for HBAR going into the next bull run. You guys already know me on my price targets. I'm still looking for that $3 to $6 range, because I do think that HBAR will lead into the top 10 and possibly even into the top 5. How do we get there? Well, it's going to just be off of adoption, marketing, and really just growth. So when we take a look at the report, though, I'm very excited for the future, because again, we've been talking about how much transactional flow could actually happen on Hedera, and at some point in time, I do think that this will 10x to 100x to even possibly 1000x in terms of transactional demand eventually. It's going to take some time. These enterprise grade use cases don't go live overnight, and I'm sure all of those HBAR variants out there are probably all aware of this, as you guys are probably holding HBAR for 2, 3, 4 years now, and we finally have our first enterprise grade use case going live. NDAs do hold things back. Projects being built do take time, so it's going to be a little bit of a patience game. But how is HBAR utilized with all of these transactions? What's going on? Well, there is a dual role of HBAR, which I have broken down many times on this channel in the past, but for those that are new to the channel, maybe you guys don't know about this, it's very clear on how HBAR gets utilized on the network. Got to remember that the network itself is empowering all these use cases, and the token that is powering the actual network is going to be utilized on every single one of these use cases that are launching on the network. For example, here we have HBAR is the native energy efficient cryptocurrency of the public Hedera network. HBARs are used to pay application transaction fees and protect the network from attack through proof of stake. Network fuel, developers use HBARs to pay for network services such as transferring HBARs, minting fungible and non-fungible tokens, calling smart contracts, and logging data. For every transaction submitted to the network, HBARs are used to pay fees that compensate validator nodes for bandwidth, compute, and storage. Network protection. Hedera is a public open source proof of stake network. When HBARs are staked to the network nodes, they have a way to influence on consensus for validating transactions. Weighted voting makes it difficult and expensive for a bad actor to maliciously affect consensus. It would require a centralized authority to own and stake over 1/3 of the network's total supply of HBAR. So with all of that in mind, yes, HBAR is utilized for every single major transaction on the network. When we take a look at this, yes, this is a great amount. It's roughly 59,000 HBAR though. So let's take a step back. 59,000 HBAR per day, roughly. We'll just say, we'll just estimate this to 60,000 HBAR per day. So at 60,000 HBAR per day in transactional fees, that's only 21.9 million HBAR per year. So this is one enterprise grade use case. A lot of people bring up the idea of Hedera's tokenomics. Okay, well, Hedera's tokenomics, they're bad, they're this, that, like everybody always brings it up and talks about how the 50 billion HBAR tokenomic number is way too much. But let's look at this. Okay, let's go over to the enterprise grade applications. So here's all the enterprise grade applications that are utilizing Hedera or working with Hedera or leveraging Hedera in any type of way. There's quite a bit of them. Now, imagine we have that 21.9 million transactions pushed through, we'll say 10, right? At 10 enterprise grade applications, it would be about 219 million HBAR. But what about 100? Okay, well now we have almost 2 billion. What about 1,000 enterprise grade applications? Now we're at 21.9 billion. That is a significant change. Now you might be questioning me and saying, well, Nick, how long is it going to take for 1,000 enterprise grade applications to go live on Hedera? The real answer to that is a very long time. But are we going to have to wait a very long time for Hedera to really meet its major potential? No, not at all. When we take a look at just the enterprise grade applications, these are the big ones because they do provide quite a bit of transactional demand. But you got to remember that there's so much more happening as well. We have retail grade use cases that are metaverse centered, gaming centered, NFT centered. A lot of these do create transactional value as well. I think for the most part, everyone really kind of confuses the idea on like, okay, well, the tokenomics are not the same as Ethereum or Bitcoin, so they're never going to create value. Well, in all actuality, we've known this to be a myth. A lot of the major projects out there that have 30 billion or 10 plus billion tokens in circulating supply, they have done very well in the past. I think that a lot of these tokens that everyone looks at, they kind of confuse the idea on like, okay, well, circulating supply and supply 100% determines if a project is successful. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, it doesn't. We have seen projects in the past that have had very low circulating supply and still fail. The biggest thing that you need to pay attention to is short-term and long-term. Are you here for the long-term or the short-term? In short-term, yeah, assets that have a lower circulating supply can be moved a lot more easier when you have individuals shilling it constantly and talking about it constantly. It's very easy to move a token that has, we'll say, 122 million tokens out there than a token that has 12 plus billion tokens out there. But when we talk about what these applications are doing with these tokens and with these networks that these tokens control and power, then it kind of gets a little bit different, right? Because when we take a step back and we look at what Hedera is trying to do here, they are focused on everything. Here is application use cases. So this is the end users, individuals, enterprises, governments, devices, and you have what they're centered on: CBDCs, permission blockchains, decentralized finance, content authenticity, audit log, decentralized identity, NFTs, payments, and this goes in depth on a lot more other things as well. Like if you actually go over here to some of these use cases, under the use cases up here, you can see like sustainability, payments, healthcare, all this kind of stuff, and this goes in depth on what they are centered on. And you could even filter by use case here as well. They're centered on almost every single aspect of life, in terms of, like, we'll say energy, gaming, DeFi, agriculture, supply chain, etc. So they're trying to hit the nail on the head in every industry. And when we take a look at that, and we take a look at what's going to be utilized, and we take a look at Hashgraph, aka the mainnet, all of this is going to be pushed through the mainnet, meaning that 50 billion supply out there that everyone's concerned with and worried about. I want you guys to understand that when you have massive amounts of projects and applications being built from not only like the retail sector, but from like the enterprise grade sector, the governmental level, all of that, these are going to be projects and applications that are generating thousands of TPS. And again, you got to remember that Hedera is throttled at 10,000 TPS right now, and they do have a sharding mechanism built in place to enable unlimited transactions per second. They're really future-proofing Hedera because they are also focused on getting to that end goal of having massive amounts of enterprises and their applications live on Hedera. And at that point, guess what? The 50 billion circulating supply that everyone's concerned with will not even be in question anymore, because a large portion of the supply is going to be utilized every single year for transactional fees. Because when you get to the point where you're doing, we'll say, 10,000 transactions per second, that is 600,000 transactions per minute. So take a step back and calculate that. That is 36 million transactions per hour. That would be 864 million transactions per day. And when we look at that, per year, you're looking at 315 billion transactions per year off of just 10,000 transactions per second. It's throttled at that. We already hit 8,000 transactions per second already. I'm telling you guys right now, I predict at some point in time, everyone's questioning of, okay, there's 50 billion in supply, HBAR is going nowhere. I assume that to completely be gone. That question will be completely gone. Give it another, I'd say, 2 years, and Hedera is going to be one of the leading names in this space. And if I'm wrong, then hey, I'm wrong. But in my opinion, with everything that I've researched, with everything that I've looked at with Hedera, the names that are working with Hedera, I just don't see a world where this isn't in the top 10. Because again, in the past, when we took a look at some of the top 10 tokens and broken them down, a lot of these, there's not a lot of value tied to them. But when we take a look at what's happening around crypto and who's adopting crypto and DLT technology, you really find the truth behind it all. Enterprises want to utilize efficient mechanisms. Ethereum, the number 2 largest crypto token in this space, developers and projects have been moving away from Ethereum over to Hedera. Is that a surprise to you? Because to me, it is not a surprise. That's why I have said over on Twitter, I strongly believe that HBAR will be in the top 10 region faster than most people think, because HBAR is utilized on the mainnet through every single transaction, through every single use case. And if you guys don't understand how these use cases are utilizing the Hedera network, then all you have to do is go to these case studies that are already or already posted over here. Now, some of them don't have the case study tied to them just yet, but eventually they will. But for an example, like Avery Dennison, which is the first project that is fully live, that's what's causing all these transactions. You could read how everything is happening with Hedera, what they are utilizing Hedera for, how the mainnet fits into place on all of this, and why the transactions have been starting to go crazy. And it's only a matter of time before we have a lot more of these use cases going live, and I am very, very excited for the future around Hedera because, hey, enterprises are here. Enterprises want to utilize this technology, and they're not going to just choose Ethereum. They're not just going to choose any project. They're going to choose the one that has the most efficient network possible that fits perfectly for their use case. And with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. So I hope that you all have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.